Now, this one that we see right here that I believe should have been a flagrant foul was not called that. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called flagrant fouls.
Caitlin Clark.
Angel Reese hasn't just battled opponents, she's battled the referees. She's spoken out against what she describes as biased officiating, claiming corrupt WNBA refs have made her life miserable all year. Who could forget when she was hit with her 6th technical foul, this time, simply for slapping the stanchion in frustration? That moment wasn't isolated. It was the culmination of a season filled with questionable calls, where whistles seemed to follow her every move. To many fans, it felt personal. To Reese, it felt like sabotage. The question now lingers. Was she being unfairly targeted, or just held to a higher standard?
Carrington poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. Caitlin fell to the ground. She was holding her face. The refs did not call a foul. They didn't call a flagrant foul.
She picked up technical fouls for things as minor as brushing an opponent's face or letting out a loud, emotional shout after a big play. Bam, whistle, technical. But where were these so-called referees when Dejanay Carrington smacked her across the eye, leaving her half-blinded and still grinding through playoff minutes? Oh right, they must have been out to lunch, or maybe just completely colorblind. Whatever their excuse, it doesn't matter anymore. Because now Caitlin Clark herself has been vocal about the inconsistencies, and honestly, that alone has shifted the spotlight. The league can no longer pretend it doesn't see what fans have been yelling about all season. The double standards are loud. And the silence from officials? Even louder.
Is the use of these WNBA referees pretty much altering games, changing the outcome of games, and something has to be done in regards to that matter. The WNBA referees has definitely been playing a major role in who's winning games and who's losing games.
And
Caitlin Clark's season has been nothing short of spectacular. She's a generational talent, a scoring machine rewriting the record books in real time. The NCAA's all-time leading scorer with 3,951 points, Clark has shattered legends like Kelsey Plum and even Pete Maravich. Every game she plays is history in motion. But despite all the glory, there's one glaring issue that continues to follow her: the referee's whistle, or rather, their refusal to use it when it matters most. Time and time again, Clark finds herself at the center of plays that would draw instant fouls for anyone else. She gets tripped, shoved, bumped mid-air, and yet the whistle stays silent. Meanwhile, she's hit with contact that would sideline others, like a shoulder to the ribs or a knee to the landing zone. And the refs. They're apparently too mesmerized by her stat lines to call the obvious. Watch her get leveled by Jackie Young under the basket. Nothing. Watch a clean drive get derailed. No whistle. The inconsistency is beyond frustrating. It's becoming a pattern. It's becoming a problem. And for fans watching closely, it's clear. The WNBA's officiating isn't just inconsistent, it's broken. And Caitlin Clark is the proof.
Women who are older than you, better than you, on your team, but if they see that you are a young star and you're doing really well, they will do whatever they can do to sabotage your success.
This isn't just an inconvenience, it's game-changing. Caitlin Clark is a playmaker, one of the most gifted athletes on the floor, and yet her team is expected to battle through every possession without the basic protection routinely given to other superstars. It's not just unfair, it's damaging. When refs swallow the whistle on clear contact, it doesn't just impact the scoreboard, it shifts momentum, morale, and trust in the system. It's honestly a shame when you step back and think about it. She's out there giving everything, elevating the league's profile, and instead of support, she's met with silence. And to make matters worse, she's not just taking hits on the court, she's also taking the L on the scoreboard.
Fortunately, on top of taking the L to the Aces, she also picked up her 6th technical foul in the second quarter of last night's game after slapping the side of the basket, the padding on the basket down there in frustration.
At this point, it's starting to feel like a full-blown witch hunt. Caitlin Clark has racked up 6 technical fouls this season, and not for throwing punches or starting fights. No, these calls came from moments of frustration. A glare, a shout, a gesture, and suddenly, she's being punished. Are you serious? 6 technicals for being competitive? For being unbeatable? It's absurd. And it's not just about the number. It's about what it represents. Her 6th tech is especially significant, because if she picks up one more, she faces suspension. That's right, sidelining one of the league's biggest stars over emotional reactions while others get away with blatant fouls. It's not discipline anymore, it's targeting.
Major because it's her 6th one. If she gets one more,
What? She's being punished for being human now.
Clark.
Is the WNBA trying to turn Caitlin Clark into a martyr just for showing a little emotion on the court? She's not throwing punches. She's not cursing out officials. She's just being real, passionate, fired up, competitive. But apparently, that's enough to earn her a whistle. It's wild how Clark seems to be held to a completely different standard. It's almost like the refs have some kind of emotional radar, one that lights up the second she reacts, but conveniently stays silent for everyone else. The message is clear: if you're Caitlin Clark, even passion is a penalty.
I think she got fouled and missed those 2 free throws, and then got frustrated with the officiating at times. But that's where we've got to be better, and we've got to handle those things. It's not going to be perfect. Those guys aren't going to be perfect. We're not perfect.
But these technical fouls are starting to shape Caitlin Clark's reputation as an emotional player, even though anyone who's actually watched her play knows she's just passionate and fiercely driven. But that's the problem, isn't it? The media and officials slap a label on her, and suddenly it sticks. Instead of being praised for her intensity, she's being penalized for it. This kind of narrative doesn't just impact how fans see her, it influences how she's treated on the court. The truth: she's not emotional, she's electric. And calling that a problem says more about the league than it does about Clark.
LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty girls.
But
This situation is absolute gold, because it's finally giving the world a front row seat to the real face of WNBA officiating. Caitlin Clark flipped the script and exposed the ugly truth. Behind closed doors, these referees are operating with bias, double standards, and unchecked power. According to Clark, her most recent technical foul wasn't for foul language or aggressive behavior. It was for something as basic as showing emotion after a controversial call. That's right. She was penalized for reacting like any competitor would. Shocking? Not really. And here's the kicker: even experts, fans, and former referees are beginning to admit something's not right. The system is broken, and Clark just lit the fuse.
I think she got fouled and missed those 2 free throws, and then got frustrated with the officiating at times. But that's where we've got to be better.
in the grand scheme of things,
It's becoming impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark keeps getting the short end of the stick. And it's not just one game. It's a pattern. The league continues to miss the mark, penalizing her for showing natural frustration while turning a blind eye to the blatant fouls happening right in front of them. It's almost as if the refs are trying to rewrite the narrative, casting her as the villain just for being passionate, vocal, and driven. But here's the thing: fans see through it. The bias is loud. The silence on real infractions is louder. Don't worry, WNBA. You'll figure it out eventually. But by then, the damage might already be done.
And all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44.
At this point, it's starting to look like Caitlin Clark is the official target of some twisted, referee-sanctioned vendetta. Get this, 80% of the flagrant fouls committed against her this season have come from one team, the Chicago Sky. Yes, you heard that right. One single team accounts for the overwhelming majority of violent, dangerous hits against the league's biggest rising star. How does that even happen? How is it possible that one franchise is racking up more flagrant fouls on a single player than most of the league combined? But sure, nothing to see here, right? Totally not biased. Statistically, that's a glaring red flag. But it's not just numbers. Fans across social media are sounding the alarm, and they're not imagining things. This isn't just a few bad calls, it's a pattern. A consistent, undeniable trend in how Clark is being treated by officials. And people are finally starting to connect the dots. The whispers are growing louder, and the league won't be able to ignore them for much long.
Also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky.
Even the most respected WNBA analysts and commentators are starting to say the quiet part out loud. During live broadcasts, they've begun openly questioning whether there's a real referee bias against Caitlin Clark, and they're not afraid to call it out on air. That alone should sound the alarm. But here's where it gets even more concerning. As the WNBA pushes for more visibility, more fans, and greater respect, the integrity of the game itself is coming under serious scrutiny. This league has been making major strides in recent years, building a loyal fan base, increasing media coverage, and finally commanding national attention. But what happens when fans start to believe the officiating isn't just inconsistent, but rigged? What happens when a generational talent like Clark is repeatedly targeted, ignored, and penalized unfairly while the league stays silent? The WNBA has so much momentum, but if it doesn't get its officiating crisis under control, it risks losing trust right when it needs it most. And that's a price no league can afford.
Now is a funny one because we're now seeing like the same WNBA media that were happy. Well, not even, I'm not gonna say happy, but like, we're like, oh, these are normal fouls. This is just normal basketball. Now, when it happens in the NBA, making it a bigger deal. And this is where kind of the problem is that it was run one rule for Caitlin and one rule for everybody else.
This kind of
The WNBA is finally gaining recognition and pulling in more viewers, but this officiating mess is a massive step backward. New fans, casual viewers, and young girls looking up to their heroes won't stick around if the game feels rigged. If people keep tuning in only to watch their favorite players get unfair treatment, they'll eventually tune out for good. The referees' inconsistency and visible bias aren't just frustrating, they're damaging the league's credibility. And if the league doesn't act fast, it's going to pay the price in the long run. Take notes from the NBA. They've had their share of officiating controversies, sure, but they also learned that transparency, accountability, and protecting star players aren't optional. They're essential. The WNBA can't afford to ignore the warning signs. Because when the audience starts questioning the integrity of the game, it's not just one player at risk, it's the entire future of the league.
He controls the game and play makes and gets everybody involved, but also, the step backs and her shot. She reminds me a lot of Luka.
Sure, WNBA refs are technically trained, in the sense that they know what a basketball looks like. But let's be honest, the league could seriously take a few notes from the NBA's decades of refining its officiating system. The NBA isn't perfect, but at least there's a clear standard, a structure, and some accountability. So why not let the WNBA borrow a page from that playbook? Train the referees to handle pressure. Teach them to be consistent. And above all, remind them that the superstars, the faces of the league, deserve fair treatment, not favoritism or punishment. The league is growing fast. It's time the officiating grew with it. Clip 15. Let's be real. Top players in the NBA get a little extra cushion. If LeBron James takes a soft hit in the paint, odds are the whistle's blowing. Why? Because the league knows its stars are the lifeblood of the business. They draw the fans, the ratings, the sponsorships, they are the brand. So why isn't the WNBA doing the same? Why isn't it protecting its stars with that same urgency? This could be the moment the WNBA makes a bold move, not just to fix officiating, but to reset the standard entirely. Show the world that this league is ready to take accountability, prioritize its players, and evolve with the moment. Stop brushing off the criticism. Start listening. Because if the system doesn't change now, it won't just be the referees who need retraining. The entire league may be sleepwalking into a crisis, so the question is, what's it going to be? Keep ignoring the obvious? Or finally wake up and protect what makes this league matter? The players, the passion, and the fans demanding better?